from Donald Trump's presidency. Chris picks up our coverage from New York.
Hey, everybody, I'm Chris Cuomo, and tonight will absolutely affect the presidential race. No question about it. So what do you say? Let's get after it. You're going to keep hearing this is an unprecedented debate. Why? Well, first time you got a president debating a former president, and this debate is just earlier. It's really about 3 months earlier than most first debates traditionally are. Why? Because we rarely know who the two candidates are going to be this far out, so far before even the conventions. That said, some on the left will try to sell you the proposition that President Biden is going to be replaced after tonight or won't make it to Election Day. Here's the good news. Tonight, the hype ends. It all ends tonight. You will see whether Biden can perform or whether he's basically brain dead, as Team Trump would have you believe. Tonight, you will see for yourself. So, while it is more about President Biden on one level, it's also going to be a big boost or blow to the former president, depending on how all the hype about Biden turns out. Here's the best part. Again, you get to judge. No more pundits kind of telling you what you didn't see. No more anonymous sources. No more manipulated moments. The two men will be next to each other, and you be the judge. So let's tee it up here by getting you a nice sampling of all the stakeholders in the outcome tonight. Right, left, and reasonable. We'll start off with Team Biden, a big player in the present and future of the Democratic Party, Representative Raja Krishnamurthy of Illinois. Congressman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Chris.
And I know you would tell me, so let me start out with the obvious. Have you heard anything that the Democratic Party is using tonight as a point of assessment for President Biden and whether he will be your nominee?
I'm hearing all signs that he's going to be our nominee. He's going to have a heck of a night. I'm looking forward to it.
Do you believe that the opposition has set the bar too low for the president? Or do you believe that people are watching tonight with a legitimate concern about his level of performance?
I think that, look, on the one hand, Donald Trump has set expectations for Joe Biden's performance extremely low, just based on the way he characterizes Joe Biden. On the other hand, I do think people have concerns about the president's age, as they do about Trump's age. And I think, as you mentioned before, they're going to get to decide for themselves exactly, how energetic, how pointed, how cogent each of them are. And that's the beauty of the debate.
What are you hearing about where Biden's head and heart are coming into tonight?
I think he's prepped and ready to go, Chris. He's done this before. As you know, he takes these prep sessions very seriously. I expect that they probably had a stand-in for Donald Trump who mimicked Donald Trump's mannerisms. And so I hope and expect that Biden will be prepared for it.
I think the tough question is the now versus then. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? What do you want to hear President Biden say?
I think the president needs to meet people where they are, Chris. I don't think that he should deny, how people feel, for instance, about the cost of living, how they feel about the economy. But really, he should put the choice forward to them, which is, do you trust me, someone who's fighting for you and your family, or do you trust him, Donald Trump, who has largely been fighting for himself and who's relitigating the past, who's consumed by his grievances and maybe even an enemies list? I think those are the types of contrasts he should try to paint.
Okay, so if he goes macro, the follow is almost certainly micro, right? People had more money in their pockets. The grocery store and the gas pump were more friendly to them than they are today. And those are the main indices. Those are the main metrics. So Biden, you've failed. Response?
Well, I think that it depends on the starting point, right? I mean, we were in the depths of the pandemic when Donald Trump left. And I think that if Joe Biden reminds people of how we made terrible decisions, Donald Trump made terrible decisions at the start of the pandemic that plunge the economy even further into the abyss, I think that would be another contrast to paint.
Other domestic issue he's certainly going to hear tonight. Inaction at the southern border, which is a reflection of the left pushing him for an open border policy. Response.
The president has to say, I'm not for open borders. The border is broken. The immigration system is broken. I think he has to point out that he worked with conservative Republicans in the Senate to come up with compromise legislation, which you and I have talked about before, but which unfortunately Donald Trump blocked in order to avoid providing Joe Biden with, quote unquote, a win. And I think pointing that out, recognizing the problem, and again, saying what he wants to do about it is very important.
Foreign, I think it's going to be atmospheric, right? Trump, when he has the opportunity, is going to say, hey, on my watch, we didn't have any of this drama. Now, with Biden, you got Russia and Ukraine, you've got the Middle East blowing up, you've got Iran doing whatever it wants. Not on my watch. Response.
I think, unfortunately, under Donald Trump's watch, we were hurting our alliances. We were eroding the power of NATO. We were cozying up to dictators like Putin. And I think that now we stand much stronger relative to Putin, relative to other dictators, including, people like Kim Jong-un, whom Donald Trump tried to cozy up to. I think the contrast is plain, which is right now we're standing up to the dictators and partnering with our allies. And under Donald Trump, it was the opposite.
That's going to be a tough finesse move. And really, that's what it is. It's really about how you answer the question in the moment as a factor of how you address what was said and how you deal with what is said about you by the person next to you. There's a good help tonight with the silencing of the mics. I don't dig that rule, but it's not my debate, so we'll see how it plays out. Congressman, thank you very much for your candor, as always. You're always welcome here to make the case for your party and your constituency. Enjoy the night.
See you too, Chris. Thank you.
All right, so how about a veteran perspective of people who absolutely could probably predict 95% of the answers we're going to hear tonight? You don't see them together very often, but it's a treat for you, and I hope you enjoy it. Bill O'Reilly is here with Geraldo Rivera together to give a balanced perspective. Gentlemen, thank you very much. You both look beautiful. Bill O'Reilly, if you had to guess, what will make the moment tonight?
Well, first of all, you guys had to pay me a lot of money to come on with Rivera, and I appreciate that. I had it wired into my Swiss bank account.
You should imagine what we had to pay him. He's chained to that chair right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
So the debate is not going to illuminate anything that anybody who follows politics or the news knows. It'll be the same old thing. I think there should be a new rule, that anybody who says democracy's on the ballot should be fined $5,000, and anybody who says we're not going to have a country anymore should be fined $5,000, because that's what you're going to hear over and over and over again. What the importance of this debate is, and it's the second most important presidential or political debate in history.
What was the first?
Tonight. Most people have no idea about that. Lincoln Douglas in 1858, where Lincoln came out and said the United States has to be a free country, no more slavery. And that catapulted him into the presidency 2 years later, even though he lost the senatorial race to Stephen Douglas. But anyway, this is the second most important debate, because not of Biden and Trump, about the systems they represent. If Biden is reelected in November, this country goes heavy progressive quasi-socialism. Biden's already on the record as saying he wants to raise the corporate tax, income tax, from 21 to 28%. Well, who the deuce do you think is going to pay for that? The American consumer. 50% of Americans don't have $500 in the bank right this moment. So Biden's going to raise the income tax level on companies and corporations, and he'll pass it right along to the consumer. He's openly proud of that fair share nonsense. So people need to step back and see what's on the ballot here. It's not about Biden doddering through this thing, and I don't know how he's going to do. And it's not about Trump saying nutty things about the 2020 election. It's about how they both will govern if elected.
Geraldo, take it any way you want, but I do think it is a little bit about Biden because Trump has made it that. Now his people are flying in reverse as fast as they can, and I'm sure when we hear them tonight, they're not going to say that Biden is in decline. They're going to say that everything is rigged against Trump. But they have made it about how Biden performs tonight, and I think that that is going to be a major takeaway for the audience one way or the other. What's yours?
Oh, me too. I think that Biden's demeanor, I think that Trump's as well. I remember, I just flashed back to watching with my mom and dad after we moved to West Babylon, Long Island, watching the presidential debate, Nixon versus JFK. And we were a Republican family in town of Babylon. So we expected Vice President Nixon to wipe the floor with this rookie that we'd hardly heard of from Massachusetts. And instead, what we saw was, very elegant, very credible, very believable, very suave guy against someone who seemed very awkward, sweating. I don't think that we could see sweat on my old TV set, but I don't want to replace my contemporary memories with what I was feeling then. But it was clear that there was one cool guy and one not cool guy. So I think that this, even though that's superficial, and even though I don't remember the substance of their remarks or their positions on the issues, I remember viscerally switching my allegiance from Vice President Nixon to Senator Kennedy. So this is it is a big deal. They say that it's substance, not style. But it is. I think that both are very competent. Both have had, I believe, underrated presidencies. And if they could sell themselves in a fair manner, I think the American people have a pretty good choice, despite the fact that they are so old. But the fact of the matter is, they are so old. I know, I don't know about O'Reilly, but I know that from the age of 78 until the age of 81, that I have had significant decline in various areas. It is, life takes a toll.
Yeah, but let me tell you something.
I want to see how these guys
Biden and Trump were in the same level of acuity and consistency as you and O'Reilly, we'd be having a very different campaign than we're having right now. So I think age and stage is part of it, Bill. But I also think that...
Can I jump in, please?
Yeah, but Bill, you got to give a little bit of a nod to the beauty contest and how people feel about the men that they see up there, who inspires confidence, who makes them feel like, all right, this guy is on it, he'll keep us safe. I still think that matters, not just some idea of what policies are on the ballot.
Okay. Couple of things. Is it possible that NewsNation can mute Geraldo's mic like you're going to do in the CNN debate? Is that possible? Can we get that done?
No.
Number two, I've known Rivera, 35 years? He was in cognitive decline about 25 years ago. Yeah, when the Nazi hit him with the chair on his show. Okay? As soon as the Nazi hit him with the chair, Rivera was like, where am I?
He grazed him. He looked like Bush when they threw the shoe at him in Iraq. He was like,
everybody's got to Google Nazi hitting Rivera with a chair. Just Google that. It's worth it. Okay.
Google, you'll see who
I did not
landed
pay
the
that
blows.
Nazi. Right. I had nothing to do with that. Okay, so people believe what they want to believe. Joe Biden could get up there tonight and collapse 3 times. And I want to correct the record. He is not going to have an IV during the debate. I know that's out there on the right-wing websites, but he's not. No IV.
You guys are setting too low a bar, Bill. You're setting too low a bar. Okay. You're going to regret it.
So, no, I don't regret anything. I hope he does well.
No,
I want Americans to see Joe Biden.
No, you
don't. Yes, I do. I don't have any malice toward Joe Biden.
Yeah.
I have no malice toward him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's the second worst president in U.S. history. I proved it in my upcoming book, Confronting the Presidents. I don't love him. I don't hate him. I don't care. One way or the other, personally. People believe what they want to believe, Cuomo, and you are the poster boy for that. Okay? So no matter what happens, you know that after the debate, when Rivera and I, if we can keep Rivera up that late, when we come back, it's going to be, oh, no, my guy won. Oh, no, my guy won. What Trump has to do, very simply, I'm a simple man, is not be mean. He needs women voters.
Yeah.
The MAGA people will vote for Trump no matter what. Trump could tase Biden, and the MAGA people would still vote for him.
It's true. He's got to turn down
Biden.
He's got to turn down the O'Reilly and turn up the Geraldo. Because if he comes across like you do, nobody's going to like him.
There you go.
Geraldo,
Absolutely.
what's your last word? And then we'll take it till after the debate.
My last word is that Trump's got to keep it contained. He's not going to be the shining city on the hill, but he's got to keep it contained. He's got to keep himself contained. Biden's got to be vibrant. He's got to have verve. He's got to have, charisma. You can't sell charisma. Trump is more of a stage presence. He's a movie star, as I've mentioned before. But Biden is very easy to underestimate. And you just remember the Paul Ryan debate when in Vice President 2012. Biden cleaned the floor with Ryan, and Ryan was the young, the wonder kid. And Biden made him look silly. So I think that Biden's got to be true to himself. He's got to stay awake. He's got to be, vibrant and vital. And on the other hand, Trump's got to be Trump. He can do it. He can do the one-liner. I'm a little concerned about his lack of prep. I don't know what that is about. But he's going to come out swinging. Yeah. I think Biden's got to hit him with with January 6th. And what he did in trying to subvert the Constitution, and Trump's got to hit him with immigration and how he's wrecked the southern border.
It'll come up,
and I think that's the script.
All right, fellas.
One more, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Rivera and I will chip in and buy you a tie, Cuomo, if you promise to wear it.
I'll tell you what, as long as you put it on me, because I want to get you close enough to me to snatch up your old dusty self and crack you in half. How about that as a deal?
Okay, you can threaten me all day long.
You.
But
I don't beat up old men. I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
No, okay, fine.
I'm teasing.
Right. I want the audience to look at the sartorial splendor of Rivera and O'Reilly, and then look at you, who looks like a maintenance man in Penn Station. Okay? That's all I want to say.
I'm the closest to a maintenance man you've talked to in 30 years. You fancy pants.
Please.
Shut your mouth. All right, gentlemen, I'll see you after the debate. Bill O'Reilly, Geraldo Rivera, as always, a pleasure. And by that, I mean with one of them. All right, they'll be back after the debate. Very important for understanding how this comes out, but also an interesting study in contrast, right? What will you see mimicked between Geraldo and O'Reilly on the stage? Nasty little digs? Or will Trump be able to turn that down? And can Biden turn up the optimism for this country? Could be a very big deal. Now, let's continue with our perspective from both sides. You have Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, but just as important, really more for the purposes of analysis, co-chair of the RNC, the Republican National Committee, Lara Trump, right after this.
A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me.
Vote now.
You're gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question.
Why would you answer that
because
question?
the question
you want to put a lot of new Supreme Court justices, radical left.
Will you
Who
shut
is
up,
your,
man?
listen,
Now, it won't likely be like that tonight because they have that muted mic thing, which I'm not a fan of. But that was the state of play in 2020 between Biden and Trump. You know, it's interesting. My boss was saying to me right before the show, they haven't really spoken to each other at all since they were last on the debate stage together. That's an interesting aspect of how they'll deal with each other tonight. For some insight, our next guest is perfect. Not just the daughter-in-law of the former president, but the co-chair of the Republican National Committee. All right? Lara Trump joins us now from the venue in Atlanta. Thank you for making time. Good to see you.
Thank you, Chris. Great to be with you.
First, just a small thing, but on a tactical side, how big a deal is the muted mic? I know that obviously your father-in-law agreed to it, but what do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that this is an attempt to prevent Donald Trump from doing what he does best, which is those quick little one-liners. You know, everybody remembers the 2016 debate between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, where she said, it's a good thing you're not in charge of the law in the country. And Donald Trump said, because you'd be in jail. That was, I mean, that brought the House down. Probably, Chris, in the same way, they don't want to have an audience there because they know that there would be massive applause and a lot of, noises and things that might be distracting to one of the people on the stage. I don't believe it would be for Donald Trump. And you were just talking about the fact that your producer mentioned this is the first time these two would be together since probably the last debate. The last time they spoke
not
was
my
probably
producer.
the last
My
debate
boss,
they had.
Laura. Don't get me in
your
trouble.
Boss. Oh, excuse me, your boss. Yeah, let's get it straight. This is also, Chris, the first time they've come face to face since Joe Biden's Department of Justice was weaponized to give Donald Trump these 34 ridiculous felony counts. So it's going to be an interesting evening. I think the way it's set up obviously is designed to help Joe Biden. And Donald Trump knew that going in. Look, he wants to be out there for the American people to see. He wants to get on a stage with Joe Biden and talk about what he did as president and what Joe Biden has done as president. And I think at the end of it, people are going to come away remembering how much better off their life was when Donald Trump was in that White House. And I, for one, am very excited to see it.
Will your father-in-law shake the president's hand?
I assume so. I don't see why not.
What do you mean, why not? You just said why not. I mean, if it were me and you thought that I had brought down 34 felony counts on you, I'm sure you wouldn't hug me when you saw me. Let me ask you about something else, though. Let that go.
Chris, I haven't talked about it with him, but I can tell you, look, he's a fighter, but he's also, he's not going to do something just to be nasty about it. And I know that's the reputation that oftentimes gets labeled on Donald Trump.
That's a good segue.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. I haven't even asked him about that.
That's a good segue. O'Reilly was talking about that Donald Trump needs to not be mean. What do you think that means? And do you think that's something that is present in your father-in-law's head going into this?
Well, look, you saw Donald Trump the day after that verdict in that, of course, the clown show trial, Alvin Bragg's trial in downtown Manhattan. You saw him come out and do that press conference, and he was very calm and he was very collected and direct with his words to the American people. And I think he, of course, has the ability to do that. He's a very smart guy. He's a showman. Don't forget that he was on TV and on all of our TV screens for years on The Apprentice. So he gets how to operate, and he's able to adjust at times and do things differently. And I think you're going to see that he really wants to get his message loud and clear out to the American people tonight. And so I think he will be tough. And that's what we need. We need a fighter. And there's no doubt about it. Whenever you think about Donald Trump and you remember back to when he was in the White House, it was peace through strength. People didn't even try anything, our adversaries around the world, because they knew Donald Trump meant business. I think it's what we need more of, quite frankly, Chris, not less of these days. And so, yes, he will be tough, but he will be measured and he'll be concise and he'll be direct. And I think that the American people are going to come away from this really happy with the performance that Donald Trump gives tonight.
A couple more things, and then I'll let you go because I know you got a ton to do before this, family and functional in terms of what you're doing with the party. The finesse issue for Biden is to explain the economy. Because the facts versus feel isn't there. I think that issue for the former president is going to be reproductive rights. Not as simple as from Roe to Dobbs, but now it seems that there's a slice of your party, at least, that is considering removing the ability of people to have a family through IVF, which affects women and men, obviously. When asked about that, because I think it'll come up, what does the former president do on that? Not on just the regular old abortion, Roe versus Dobbs, but now this larger, what seems to be an apparent expansion.
Well, with the IVF, he's already answered that, Chris, and I'm sure his answer will be the same that it was previously, which is that he wants more children. He wants more people to have the ability to have children. And so the idea of taking away IVF is never anything that he agreed with. I think he's spoken out very clearly about that before. But you're right with Joe Biden and the economy. We're living right now in Joe Biden's America. Things on average are 30% more expensive now than they were when Donald Trump was in office. Wages are not keeping up with inflation right now, and it is hurting the American people. So Joe Biden has to answer for that. That's the thing with the entire debate, as far as I'm concerned. The bar has been made so low for Biden that if he walks out on stage and basically is upright for the entirety of the debate, a lot of people are going to be like, look, Joe Biden can do it. He's got to tell us, why is it that our southern border is open, wide open, and we've had 10 million plus illegal immigrants come to this country? Why is it you have people on the terror watch list streaming over that border? Why is it hard to make ends meet for people right now? Why was your first decision closing down the Keystone XL pipeline, rendering us no longer energy independent? Of course, enriching our adversaries out there. That probably led to, the skirmishes around the world, like in the Middle East and in Europe, at least. This is the stuff that he's going to have to answer for tonight. And we're living through it right now. So they can tell us all they want that it's sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows from the Biden team. The American people feel it differently. And that is a big problem he's going to have.
It's going to be interesting. Your father-in-law is going to have to do a lot of that work because I don't think that the questions, no disrespect to the moderators, will be that far back contextualized. But that's part of the challenge of a debate. How do the different, how do the two candidates finesse the situation to get to the points they want to? For me, I'm going to watch. I do believe the team was very aggressive in the Biden is basically brain dead. That sets a very low bar for his performance tonight. We'll see what the response is after it. Lara, you're welcome back. I know you're busy tonight. If you want to come back to talk after the debate, we have time for you. Thank you for coming to us before it. Appreciate you.
You got it. Thank you, Chris.
All right, be well. Best of the family. 4 minutes, 30 seconds. Coming up, our next two guests have been critical of Biden and Trump. All right? So what are they looking for? What could move the needle of two people who are untraditional experts? Adam Carolla, Stephen A. Smith, who hustled over here right from the draft. I wonder what they're talking about. I hope it's not me. Next.
Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just want to make sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that.
Very exciting. Less than a half an hour away from an historic debate. Look, and for me, it's not so much about the president versus the former president. It's not even about that we don't usually have the first debate this early. It's that you have an unusual single factor examination of the sitting president by his opponent, which is Biden's brain don't work so good, right? That's what Team Trump has been forcing as the narrative. Well, tonight, that question gets answered one way or the other. So let's talk about what we expect, what we want, what may happen. Host of the most downloaded podcast there is, Adam Carolla. Straight from tonight's history-making NBA draft, ESPN host, face of the Stephen A. Smith show, eponymously named Stephen A. Smith. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate you both, as always. Stephen, thank you for rushing over from the draft. What's a bigger deal, the debate or the draft?
Well, today is the debate. Tomorrow is a different story because obviously Bronny James was drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers, and in some people's eyes, that's the biggest story. But for me, it's the debate. We've been waiting for this for a long time. America's not enamored with either candidate, but this is the choice that we have at this particular moment in time. What level of cogency is President Biden going to put forth? Trump, is he off his rocker from time to time, or is he going to be ready? Mics are going to be muted from time to time. There is no audience. It's going to call for an elevated level of discipline on his part. Is he capable of putting that on display? These kind of questions are incredibly pertinent because it ain't going to be but so many debates. It's not like you're going to have 5 debates like Trump wanted to. It's going to be one now and another in September. Yeah. And that's what you've got to work with. So tonight is very, very important.
Brother Carolla.
I was thinking about it. I was thinking it's a chance for CNN to sort of claw back into the realm of credibility. They lied all through COVID. They lied all through Russian collusion. They lied through the dossier and the Trump, the Hunter Biden laptop and things like that. And I think people think that CNN is in the bag for the Democrats now. So if they go out there and they're credible and they're even-handed and they're fair and they ask Biden some tough questions, then they can make their way back into the mainstream. I think people assume that Jake Tapper is just going to go out there with
Dana Bash,
and just sort of offer up the softballs to Biden and be tough on Trump. But I think if they're tough and even-handed with both candidates and both debaters tonight, I think that's a chance for them to make their way back toward the mainstream.
Depends who they're trying to impress, but you don't think you took the bait a little bit of what Trump's putting out there, that these guys are unfair? You know, Tapper has interviewed the president multiple times. He's done multiple debates. Mm-hmm. He is a known quantity. He has never been called unfair in his handling of one of these.
He doesn't like Trump. I mean, historically.
That's a big group, though.
That's a large group.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there are a lot of people who support Trump who don't like him.
Yeah, no, that's true. Mm-hmm. And I just think he's on record as not liking Trump, and Dana Bash is on record as not liking Trump. Mm-hmm. And a lot of Americans think it's stacked that way. Yeah. And if they can come out and they can be even-handed, then I think there can be some discussion about CNN coming back toward the mainstream.
Well, I'm certainly not talking about you specifically, and it's not my place to be judging an entire network, because there's a lot of credible people that work at every network. That's CNN, that's Fox News, that's MSNBC. There's always good and bad apples everywhere. I'm going to be fair about that, but I'm also going to be fair about this, and I would call upon you and everybody else to be fair about this in this regard. Just because you don't like somebody doesn't mean you can't be fair when you're sitting in a host chair. There's something to be said about Jake Tapper acknowledging what his feelings are to the public. Now, if you kept it quiet and you were clandestine in your approach and nobody knew it, and all of a sudden we hear some secret recording or whatever where you're revealing animus and disgust towards a particular candidate or anything like that, and it was discovered, that would be different. But if you're sitting around and you're letting the public know on a public platform, this is how I feel about this person based on the evidence. However, the news is the news. Me interviewing you and asking you the questions that need to be asked is what I'm going to do. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I can tell you right now that there have been many, many, many occasions where I have interviewed people I did not like. Some I didn't even respect. Some I thought were pathological liars or whatever. But despite that, it didn't stop me from being fair and professional in my approach to the job. I think that Jake Tapper has deserved the benefit of the doubt in that regard.
Oh, listen, I think he's going to have to do it, because otherwise it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. People said it, and now he's going to live it. So I hope that he tries. And I also hope they get on to subjects of substance as well. Like, if you look at the last one they did, there's a great clip where Trump is accusing Biden of being in the pocket of China and Hunter Biden and laptop, and Biden is lying and saying that the 51 intelligence experts all signed a letter saying that laptop had all the, all the traits of Russian
interference.
Right. And the moderator just keeps yelling, "Can we get back to talking about race?" That's all she kept saying. Well, and I thought...
That's what the question had been, though.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, how much... It's 2024. How much race talk do we really want? Sorry, Steve.
No, you're right. No.
I mean, let's get to some subject. They're not Klansmen. Well, they're here to discuss subjects. How much... She just goes, "Can we get back to race? Can we get back to race? Can we get back to race?"
First of all, you're not taking me off, so let's get that out the way. Secondly, and most importantly, I think it's something to be said about somebody insisting that you simply answer the question so they can move on. Thirdly, in order to be fair, and this is going to be very unpopular coming from me in a lot of people's eyes, but I got to tell you something right now. When Gavin Newsom, California governor, was debating Ron DeSantis on Fox News, I thought Sean Hannity did a good job. And we know how Sean Hannity feels about liberals. I thought he did a good job. So if we believe that Sean Hannity was fair and could be fair, we should give the same benefit of the doubt to Jake Tapper.
Look, a little bit of this is baked in, right? I worked at CNN. I don't share your opinion about how they were over things, but that doesn't matter. I still want you sitting next to me, because I think...
lied about COVID the whole time.
Listen, If you want to go through it, I'm more than happy to, as you know. But I think that lie is a very strong word. I think that we need a review of the entire pandemic and all the policies.
All right, they were just they were wrong about.
That's right.
Some things were wrong, but some things were wrong. Some things were
Stupid or
right.
liars, the game I like to play.
Well, that's a good game, by the way. I don't know which scale I'm on, so I got a foot on both.
Okay. But, all right,
here's
wrong
what
about
we know.
COVID.
We
Sorry.
get susceptible to narratives. The moderators don't really matter. They're going to throw out what's out there. It's going to be how the men deal with it and how they take it. I've worked this business for a long time, seen a lot of debates. The moderator is almost never the story, except when it was Megyn Kelly and Trump forced the situation. Mm-hmm. Other than that, you come and you go, and it's about the guys and how they handle themselves. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, I think we're going to have Governor Newsom, so we'll get his take on what it is and see what you think matters where he is. Adam Carolla, Stephen A. Smith, and we'll see if we can get the California governor to make the case for why his party gets a plus tonight. It's nice to have a night that actually matters. No hype necessary. We're just minutes away, 12, 13 minutes away from a debate that's going to make a difference in our presidential election. And yeah, it's the first time you got a sitting president against a former president. We don't usually have the first debate this early, but a lot of that is just, meaningless detail. You're going to find out tonight whether or not Joe Biden can go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump. That's the bottom line. I'm back with Adam Carolla, Stephen A. Smith, and we are joined now by California Governor Gavin Newsom. Gov, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's good to be with you. Thanks, Chris.
So, Gov, on the major question tonight of is Joe Biden up to the task? That has largely been defined by his opponent. I think they set too low a bar, frankly. But what do you think Joe Biden needs to show tonight?
I mean, I think he shows it over and over again. He shows up in these big moments. One of the most effective debaters in decades. You look back at his last many, many debates. He's a skilled debater. He knows how to show up at prime time. He knows how to show up on game day. I have all the confidence in the world that when this next 90 minutes is up, he'll come out successful. He'll come out successfully defending his record and, more importantly, painting a compelling vision for the future.
Gov, I was thinking about this when I was watching your State of the Union. The connection and often disconnect between feel and fact. The economy tonight is going to be painted maybe by the moderators, but certainly by Trump as people are worse than they were. Yeah. The grocery store, the gas pump. How does Joe Biden thread using different metrics that show the economy is doing well and respecting how people feel?
Yeah, that's a tough thing to thread, and you're absolutely right. How we mind that gap between performance and perception. The data shows this is one of the most remarkable economies of our lifetime. 15.6 million jobs in the last 3.5 years. That's 8 times more jobs in the last 3 Republican presidents combined. We're seeing GDP growth. It's the envy of the world. Inflation is being tamed. It's down 2/3. We have a manufacturing strategy. We have a domestic investment strategy and infrastructure that is second to none. It was, of course, a dream of Trump. It was a punchline during his administration. Biden has delivered and continues to deliver. And look, I think the opportunity is to highlight where we were 4 years ago. In April, 4 years ago, we had 14.8% unemployment. 4 years ago, 2020, we had one of the worst crime sprees in American history. Murder went up under Trump by 30%. It continues to go down under the Biden administration. I think there's points of contrast, proof points, but you're absolutely right. You've got to address the stacking of stress. You've got to address the cumulative impacts of inflation. We have to appreciate and respect where people are in terms of feeling polarized and feeling divided. And that empathy, of course, is also a strong point of Governor, Joe Biden. So I hope that Biden shows up tonight. Scranton Joe.
Governor, I'm joined by two better minds. The first is Stephen A. Smith, who has a question for you.
Appreciate seeing you, Governor Newsom. All of the things that you just threw out about Joe Biden and what he's been able to accomplish as the president, how do you feel about the fact that there's a debate taking place tonight? Do you believe it was necessary? Do you believe it's the right thing for the incumbent to do?
Yeah, Stephen, I've been critical of my party in the past, not the Biden administration, that we've been on the defense, that we haven't taken the agenda, we haven't taken the message to the Republican Party. That's why you were just referencing that debate with Ron DeSantis, why I'm showing up, going on these networks that a lot of Democrats don't want to show up. And so I thought it was important that President Biden asserted himself. He picked the date. He moved the calendar forward. He set the tone and tenor, and Trump agreed on all of this. So I think it's a very encouraging sign. I thought it was smart strategically, and I think it's the kind of energy he's going to bring in tonight's discussion.
Adam Carolla here. Governor, why did you shut the beaches in California during COVID?
Yeah, I think we all were working on information at the time. We had no basis of deeply understanding the virus. I think they did the same thing.
So you didn't know anything,
so
why'd you shut the beaches?
States like Florida.
If you didn't know anything, why'd you shut the beaches?
Well, we didn't know. Yeah, because people were concerned early in the pandemic. Information was coming out as it relates to how it was transferred, the disease. And people were cautious, trying to keep people alive. And I should say this,
so
Adam,
you didn't let them go in the
health,
sunshine and get vitamin
California
D
outperformed.
and exercise. So you shut the beaches. Okay. And you arrested a guy who was paddleboarding in the bay.
On health, wealth, and...
Yeah, any science behind that? Any science at all behind shutting outdoor dining? Why'd you shut down outdoor dining?
Go ahead, go.
Science?
It's good to see Adam.
Based on science,
look,
you didn't have?
At the end of the day, the debate tonight...
It's not a debate. You shut down
looking
outdoor
forward to the
dining,
debate,
you canceled businesses, had nothing to do with science.
All right, let him finish.
Go ahead. All right, go ahead.
All this happened with members of the Trump administration providing counsel and providing recommendations to states like mine, very much part of that Trump record as well.
All right, Gov, I appreciate you taking the questions. Thank you very much for joining us. Good luck to your side tonight. Good luck to the other side. We'll all be watching, and I appreciate you filling it in. Stephen A. Smith and Adam Carolla are with us right now. Listen, I say have at it when you have an opportunity, and you let him answer his questions. I think that I do want the audience to know this, though. I believe that these questions have never been given thorough thought since the pandemic. It's because both sides don't see advantage in it. They can't point at the other party and win, right? Because it started on Trump's watch, finished on Biden's watch. They both made very similar suggestions during their administration. But I would love to have a full review. Now, on what he was saying about tonight, this threading the line economically, I think, is much harder than people make it out, because people don't want to hear numbers when they don't feel it, right? So what's your take on how you deal with people on that level? I feel like things are harder. You're telling me they're not.
Yeah, the problem is people go to the supermarket and they buy eggs and milk and beef, and then they go to the gas station and they pump gas. And then you want to talk about the NASDAQ and the Nikkei average, and most people are like,
disconnect.
I don't want to hear all the stats. I don't want to look at the graphs. I just know when I go to buy fast food, it's a lot more expensive than it was 4 years ago or 2 years ago. So that's what Biden has to kind of thread. And I don't think sitting and talking about job creation and data is going to do it. I think it has to be a kind of boots on the ground. Like I said, here's what I'm doing to bring fuel prices down. Here's what I'm doing to bring grocery prices down.
I completely agree with you, but you can't be oblivious or false either. And so what Trump has to make sure that he's doing is being factual. Because if you're going to go out there and you're going to throw out your own numbers, or you're going to throw out a state of affairs that's exaggerative and it's not accurate, then that could be damaging as well. So again, America has gone through so much. We've tired of the BS, and we consider the politicians too close to BS on an everyday basis. And so what you want to do is you want to see realness, you want to see authenticity, you want to see something that's close to the truth, something that you says, okay, I can relate to that. When I go to buy gas, I see the price. When I go to buy groceries, I see the prices. When I have to sit up there and pay my rent or I pay my mortgage, don't talk to me about a flourishing economy when I'm thinking I've got to work 2 or 3 jobs in order to pay my bills, when back in the day, I only needed to pay 1 job. They're going to be looking at things like this because they want to make sure that the candidate or the incumbent, the person that's talking to them, is relating to what they do. And the reason why the Democrats should be very, very worried is that, like them or not, no matter how you feel about them, Trump has an uncanny ability to come across in his own way, not to everybody, but to his constituency, very, very relatable. And these folks look at him and they say, yeah, we get it. And he says, they're robbing you. They're crooks. They don't care. They're lying. Everything's rigged. And they're like, yeah, they don't have the facts. They don't know. But they're like, sounds good to me. And you can't come back if you're Biden. That's just wrong. That's just incorrect. Here are the numbers, etc. Because folks are looking at it and they think about their life and they're like this. I ain't got time to look at them damn numbers. I'm too busy. I'm too busy trying to survive. Excuse me. Are you resonating with me?
Politics is much more about field
and not be heard. You can speak and not be heard.
100%.
The objective is to be heard.
100%. Do you think there's room tonight for what used to mean most to the American people, which is optimism? That I want you to vote for me because I know how to get us to a better place. You know, we've been so much who's worse for so long. Do you think there's space for that yet?
It'd be nice. I mean, it would be nice if one of them let their guard down and said, look, we're all Americans. We all love this country. Whatever R or D is next to your name. We all have kids. We all have parents and grandparents, and we love this country. And I'm here because I love this country.
Yeah, I'm so ready for
better.
I agree with you.
I'm so ready.
I agree with you 100%, but you do realize you didn't just sound like that when you were
That's true.
I hate Gavin Newsom. I hate Gavin.
He has an axe to grind, but I'll tell you what, there's space for it even in that. When I talk to groups that are even staunch and anti-vaxxer, well, but look, people have grievance. Right. You got to deal with their grievance, and then you get to a better place.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I love you. Thank you for being with me. Stephen A. Smith, Adam Carolla, they'll be...